If you don't absolutely love what you're doing, go do something else because you're gonna find more success in that. This is Yoshi Sudarso in Making a Portrait. Before America, I actually don't remember much of my childhood. It's something that I talked to my brother about too. We were born in Indonesia, me and two brothers. I'm the middle of three. I remember floods. There have been a lot of floods in Indonesia. The sewer system is not great, so whenever there's a rain, it just floods right into the houses. It's gross. I remember that. I remember that very well. It would happen like every so often, especially during the rainy seasons. When I moved to America is where most of my memories were made. You know, I remember having to learn English for the first time. I was learning it through Space Jam, Powerpuff Girls, Dexter's Laboratory, and Blue's Clues. Those are the four like shows that I remember watching like to learn English. One of the silliest things I remember is, you know, I come from Indonesia, I speak the language, I eat the food, I know the culture. So when I moved to America, when people would ask me where I'm from, I'd say Indonesia. Not many people know where that is, you know. Back then, at least in the 90s, they didn't really understand what that was, except for some people would be like, oh, Bali, I know Bali. And then I remember meeting a friend of mine in high school, and he turned to me and he was like, are you Indonesian? Because my last name is Sudarso, and it's very Indonesian. And his name was Suchongdro, which is also very Indonesian. So we're like, oh, we're both Indonesian. But then I started speaking to him in Indo, and he didn't understand a word of it. And I was like, oh, I don't have anyone to talk to in that language, you know? But I remember also when I first moved to America, me and my brother made this kind of, not a pact, not a deal or anything like that, just something that we agreed on was that we wouldn't speak Indonesian anymore. That, you know, we would listen to our parents in Indonesian, we would understand it, but we would always converse in English, especially between the two of us, because we didn't want to have an accent. We grew up wanting to be something else and pushing away the very thing that was us. You know, the food, the language, the culture, the clothing, you know, what you wore. We all pushed that away. I remember a time where I stopped watching or playing video games and watching anime because to me, that was such an Asian thing to do, and I didn't want that. And it was such a weird shift in my focus when I realized that I wasn't happy because I was pushing away who I really was, who I wanted to be, what I enjoyed, you know, just for the sake of being like somebody else. The lowest point of my life, I think it was when I decided to go and just do acting. This is after Power Rangers, you know, after I'd booked these other things. The hardest part about acting and auditioning, I think, is not that you get told no. Yes, you get told no sometimes. I'd rather them tell me no, because then I know for sure what happened. Or maybe they tell me why I didn't get it. But it's when they ghost you. You do an audition, and then you hear nothing. When I go into an audition and I learn this character, and I read about the character and I research about the character before I do my self-tape, my audition, whatever, I'm already pouring myself into this character. And when I hear nothing for a whole year, it's like you don't know what you did wrong. So then you just start going into your head and start burying yourself into this hole. When I first started getting into the business, it wasn't like super tough for me because I was a hustler. I was like, I'm gonna keep doing things. There's always something to do, right? But when it's like for stunts, at least you can always do something. You can be training, doing this and that. Acting, you can go to classes as much as you want, but then if there are no auditions, your agent can't get you anything because there are no auditions for you, you know? I think the biggest thing is acting is my job, but it's not my life, right? I love acting. It's like it's my life, but it's my job. My life is my wife, my kid coming soon, right? And that's my life. Power Rangers is a long story. I started getting in the industry by doing extra work, like background work and stuff like that, trying to get my SAG card. And that's kind of how I got into it, just doing background work. I did meet Zach, or Walter Jones, from the original at a convention, but they're all at these conventions, right? So I met the actors that were currently on the show. So I asked them, I was like, hey, how'd you get the role? He said, well, we did a casting with this lady. I looked up her name, emailed her, was like, yo, can I come audition for the show? And she said, yeah, sure. I'm a huge Power Ranger fan, huge. So to be on set and to be one of the guys, like growing up, who didn't say it's morphin time?
Yeah.
Right? There was one day on set, it was the most miserable day on set. It was like almost 55, 60 degrees Fahrenheit at the beach, wind blowing, and they had to keep spraying me, and then they couldn't put a coat on me because it would take off all the sweat, and then they had to spray me again. It was a miserable day, rough day. But it was the day that I knew at the end of that day, I got to say it's morphin time for the first time, and like I morph, you know what I mean? That was like the worst but best day of my whole time there. My character is the first character to not speak English properly in 22, 23 years. Some kid in Brazil like sent a letter, like we get letters once in a while from Power Rangers and stuff like that, and then they let us read it. And one kid, he was saying how he was like bullied in school for not being able to speak English because he's Brazilian. And so, but he could speak Portuguese just fine. And then after seeing Koda, my character, come out on Power Rangers, they were all like, oh, you can be the Blue Ranger. And he, you know, because he spoke like me. So there was some representation for somebody who didn't speak a fluent, you know, English. I love filming. I love going to set every single day, but it hurts. It's tiring sometimes. For Power Rangers, it was 4 a.m. to 7 p.m., 8 p.m. every day, 6 days a week, you know? So I needed that love for the craft to keep me going. If you don't absolutely love what you're doing, go do something else because you're gonna find more success in that. It's morphing time!